6 months ago, my boss fired me in front of the entire company. He made a whole speech about it. Called me lazy. Called me incompetent. Said I was the reason the company was struggling. 43 people watched it happen. What he didn't know was that I'd bought the company 3 weeks earlier. He found out the next morning. But to understand why I let him do it, I need to take you back about 2 years. My name doesn't matter. Let's just say I worked as a project manager at a mid-sized logistics company in the Midwest. I'd been there for 11 years. I started in the warehouse when I was 22 and worked my way up. I knew every truck route. I knew every client by name. I knew where the bodies were buried. The company was owned by an old guy named Walter. Good man. Treated everyone fair. He hired me, promoted me 3 times, even paid for me to finish my business degree at night. Walter retired about 3 years ago. He sold the company to a private equity group based out of Chicago. They sent in a new CEO, a guy named Brad. Brad was 34. Brad wore suits to a warehouse. Brad had never managed a logistics company in his life. But Brad had an MBA from somewhere expensive, and Brad had connections. And from day one, Brad hated me. I think it's because I knew things he didn't. When clients called with questions, they asked for me, not him. When trucks broke down, the dispatcher called me, not him. When something went wrong on a Friday night, I was the one who fixed it. He couldn't stand it. So he started small. He took away my parking spot. He moved my office to the basement. He took me off the senior leadership emails. He stopped inviting me to client meetings. I didn't say anything. I just kept doing my job. Then he got bolder. He started writing me up for things that didn't happen. He claimed I missed deadlines I'd actually hit. He said I was rude to clients who'd specifically requested me. He documented everything. I knew what he was doing. He was building a paper trail to fire me. I went to HR. HR was a woman named Cheryl who'd been hired by Brad. She told me my perception didn't match reality. She told me I needed to work on my attitude. I started looking for another job. Quietly. Just sending out resumes when I could. About 18 months into Brad's reign of terror, something interesting happened. I got a call from an old friend of Walter's. A guy named David. David ran an investment group in Phoenix. He'd known me since I was 25. David said, I heard you're miserable over there. I want to talk to you about something. We met for dinner. He told me the private equity group that bought the company was struggling. They'd over-leveraged on a bunch of bad deals. They were quietly looking to dump assets, including my company. David said, I want to buy it, but I don't want to run it. I want you to run it. I almost fell out of my chair. He said the price they were asking was around $12 million. He had the money. He needed a partner who actually understood the business. He was offering me 30% ownership in exchange for running the operation. I asked him why he was telling me this. He said, Walter trusted you. That's good enough for me. I told him I was in. But here's the catch. The deal was going to take 6 to 8 months to close. There was due diligence. There were legal issues. And the private equity group couldn't know it was me involved because Brad would absolutely sabotage the deal out of spite. So I had to stay at the company, quietly, while being treated like garbage, while being written up for fake offenses, while Brad slowly built his case to fire me. The hardest 6 months of my life. Every day, I drove to work knowing that I might be the next owner of this place. And every day Brad would walk past my basement office without saying hello. He'd CC me on emails just to humiliate me. He'd take credit for my ideas in meetings. One time he made me wait 2 hours outside his office for a meeting, then told his assistant to tell me he didn't have time and I should figure it out. I just sat there, smiling on the outside, counting the days. About a month before the deal was supposed to close, Brad found out about a major client we were about to lose. Our biggest client, a regional grocery chain. They'd been with us for 14 years. The contract was up for renewal. Brad had been handling the negotiations himself, because of course he had, and he'd been butchering them. He'd insulted their procurement director in a meeting. He'd lowballed them on a counteroffer. He'd threatened to find another customer if they didn't agree to his terms. They were about to walk. Brad called an emergency meeting. He stood up in front of the entire company and announced that we were losing the account. He said it was because of poor account management on the operations side. Then he looked right at me. He said, and by operations side, I mean specifically the people who've been here too long and gotten too comfortable. Everyone knew he meant me. I hadn't even touched that account in 2 years. I didn't say anything. I just sat there, because I was 3 weeks away from owning the company. But I will admit, that meeting almost broke me. I went home that night and called David. I told him I couldn't take it anymore. I told him I was going to quit before the deal closed. David said, don't. 3 weeks. Just 3 more weeks. I stayed. A week later, the grocery client called me directly. They got my cell from one of the old dispatchers. The procurement director said, "We don't want to lose your company. We just can't work with Brad. Is there any way around him?" I told him I'd see what I could do. I called David. I told him about the call. David said, "Sign them. Whatever it takes. Sign them before the deal closes. It'll be a great little surprise for Brad." So I did. I worked with the client over the next week. I rebuilt the relationship. I gave them better terms. I personally guaranteed I'd handle their account if the company changed leadership. They signed a new 5-year contract. I didn't tell Brad. Why would I? He'd just take credit for it. The deal closed on a Tuesday. David's investment group officially took ownership at midnight. I was now a 30% owner of the company that had been making my life hell for 2 years. We planned to make the announcement on Friday morning. But on Wednesday, Brad found the new contract with the grocery chain in the system. He saw my name on it as the account manager. He saw that I'd been working with them behind his back. He absolutely lost his mind. He called a company-wide meeting for Thursday morning. He didn't tell me what it was about. He told the office manager to make sure I was there. Now, at this point, I had a choice. I could have called Brad into a private room and told him about the ownership change. I could have spared him what was coming. I could have handled it professionally. I didn't. I'd thought about that meeting 2 years earlier. I'd thought about being written up for fake offenses. I'd thought about being moved to the basement. I'd thought about being told my perception didn't match reality. I decided to let Brad write his own ending. Thursday morning. Conference room A, 43 people. Brad standing at the front of the room, red in the face, holding a stack of papers. He started his speech. He said I had been deliberately undermining the leadership of this company. He said I'd been secretly negotiating contracts behind the CEO's back. He said I was the kind of employee who poisons morale and damages relationships with our most important clients. He looked at me. He said, "You're fired. Effective immediately. Pack your desk. Security will escort you out." I just nodded. I said, "Okay, Brad. Before I go, can I say something to the team?" He smirked. He said, "Make it quick." I stood up. I walked to the front of the room. I shook his hand. I genuinely thanked him for the opportunity to learn so much over the past 2 years. Then I turned to the team. I said, "I want all of you to know how much I've valued working with you. Some of you have been here longer than I have. Some of you trained me. I have so much respect for what you do every day." Then I said, "Effective Friday morning, the ownership of this company will be transitioning to a new investment group. I am the new chief operating officer and a 30% equity partner." The room went completely silent. I said, "Brad's termination of me about 90 seconds ago is technically invalid, because as of midnight Tuesday, he no longer has the authority to terminate executives in the operations division, which, by the way, I now run." You could hear people breathing. I said, "Brad, you are not being fired today, but effective Monday morning, we will be conducting a full review of your performance over the past 18 months. I expect that review will be comprehensive." Brad's mouth was open. He was holding the papers, but they were shaking. I said, "In the meantime, please clear out your office. Effective immediately, you are on administrative leave." I turned to the team. I said, "Coffee in the break room in 15 minutes. I want to introduce you to our new CEO. He's flying in this morning." Then I walked out of the conference room. Brad's review took about 3 weeks. We documented everything. The fake write-ups, the contract sabotage with the grocery chain, the way he treated the warehouse staff, the way he treated me. He was terminated for cause. No severance. No reference. Nothing. The company is doing great now. We've grown revenue by 38% in the last 6 months. We're hiring. The grocery chain renewed for another 5 years after that. They're now our second biggest client. I'm in Brad's old office, the one I was never allowed in. I made it into a small conference room for the operations team. I'm using my old basement office as my CEO office, just for the irony. People sometimes ask me if I think I should have given Brad a heads up, if I should have spared him the humiliation. My answer is always the same. He fired me in front of 43 people. He spent 2 years building a fake case to destroy my career. He almost cost us our biggest client because his ego couldn't handle being wrong. I didn't humiliate Brad. I just let Brad humiliate himself in front of his future employees. Some bosses deserve a quiet conversation in the back office. Brad wasn't one of them.